Not every warm smile comes from a friend. Some are just masks worn by entities that prey on the trust you once gave. There's a turning point when those in your inner circle start showing their true colors. This revelation doesn't come through their speeches, but through their vibration, their conduct, and how your spirit recoils when they walk into a room. This has nothing to do with old superstitions. It's an unseen war taking place within what you call your relationships. You've recognized it. That suffocating energy, the conversations that leave you hollow, the baffling wave of dread after you've been near them. These are not simply unhealthy traits. They can be indicators of something far more menacing. If that question, "Why do I feel so much worse every time I leave this person?" has crossed your mind, you are already living this truth. We aren't discussing apparitions, but the energies that inhabit and operate through people. Energies that distort, disorient, and dismantle you from the soul outward. Today, I'm giving you 10 undeniable signals to identify these hidden forces in your circle before they cost you more than your tranquility. Certain people in your world can devastate you without uttering a single cruel remark or lifting a hand. Their very presence acts like a siphon on your spirit, and you can't figure out why. You enter a space feeling good, even hopeful, but after some time with them, your battery is drained, your mood has plummeted, and your inner calm is shattered. You attempt to rationalize it. Perhaps they were just going through something. Perhaps you're being overly sensitive. But deep down, your intuition knows that something is deeply wrong. These are the individuals who never invest in you, but always require a withdrawal. Your focus, your hours, your compassion, your life force. It consistently revolves around their crises, their turmoil, their disarray, and you've unknowingly become the landfill for their emotional garbage. They dump their baggage onto your spirit and then walk away, leaving you to bear the weight. This isn't merely about feeling tired. It's a spiritual drain. Your eyes can't perceive it, but your core can feel it. These are the types of individuals wearing the familiar face of a loved one, but underneath, a darker presence is feasting on the light within you. This is energetic vampirism. They are not always conscious of their actions. Yet, that doesn't reduce the danger. It's time to stop questioning your own sensitivity and start asking why your spirit sounds an alarm bell whenever certain people are near. That discomfort you feel is a vital warning. Your energy is a precious currency, and not just anyone should have access to it. Begin observing how you feel following every interaction. Are you lighter or heavier? More inspired or more worried? More complete or more fractured? Destructive forces don't always arrive with a menacing roar, red eyes and horns. Often, they come with a gentle smile, speak in a reassuring voice, and claim you as one of their own. But if each encounter leaves you feeling more estranged from your own peace, your life's path, or your inner strength, it's crucial to see that this is beyond a difficult relationship. This is a spiritual attack. You don't have to confront them, debate with them, or try to change them. All you need to do is step back and take back your power. Your soul already grasps what your mind is struggling to accept. Not everyone around you is nourishing for your spirit. Some are actively consuming it. Defend your peace. Shield your energy. Your entire existence hinges on it. They manipulate reality to isolate you, subtly, masterfully, and with a plan. They operate like a spider, weaving a web of confusion around your bonds until all the vitality is gone. These individuals don't tell bold, faced lies. That would be too clumsy. Instead, they warp the facts just enough to plant a seed of doubt in your thoughts and suspicion in your soul. They weaponize fragments of truth, comments taken out of context, and emotionally loaded anecdotes that cast a shadow on others, all while positioning themselves as the innocent bystander or loyal companion. Their tool is insinuation. I probably shouldn't be the one to say this, but... Or, you might want to watch them closely. Something feels off. These are tiny fractures engineered to crack your foundation of trust, to separate you from those who genuinely have your back, and to make them your one and only emotional crutch. The The moment you start drifting from those who protect your spirit, you're left exposed, reliant, and far easier to control. This is the playbook for these dark energies. They don't use open warfare, but quiet sabotage. They subtly stir drama to provoke emotional responses, then lean back as everything unravels, feigning complete innocence. They understand that if they can break your support structure, your tribe, your allies, your clarity, they can start to control how you see the world. You'll begin to doubt the motives of genuine people, embrace fiction over truth, and unconsciously adopt their skewed perspective as your reality. This isn't a conversation, it's a strategic maneuver in an unseen war. And the scariest part, these people often seem intensely devoted, even loving. They swear they're on your side, just being straightforward or sincere. But their true work is planting spiritual venom between you and everyone who brings you peace. You'll start to feel increasingly paranoid, question relationships that once felt unshakable, and wonder why your world is so heavy, until you follow the trail back to the one person who is the common factor in every fractured connection. That's not a fluke, it's intentional demolition. These forces don't always have to yell. They whisper, they deceive, they charm, and they conquer by dividing. When someone consistently creates division, but never offers a solution, constantly points out the flaws of everyone else, but is blind to their own, you must understand this: they are not trying to shield you. They are trying to cage you. And once you are all alone, you are theirs. Open your eyes, guard your relationships, and above all, protect your mind from the poison disguised as concern. They applaud your struggles, not your victories. And if you aren't paying sharp attention, you'll mistake this counterfeit concern for genuine care. These are the people who are your biggest cheerleaders when you're at your lowest, but become hauntingly quiet the moment you begin to recover. They are the first to console you at rock bottom, when you're heartbroken, when your dreams have turned to dust. Yet, the instant you start to rise, to find your footing, to walk with a renewed sense of self, their entire demeanor changes. Abruptly, they are aloof, cutting, belittling, or even hostile. For what reason? Because your empowerment is a direct threat to their self-perceived dominance. Your light illuminates their deepest insecurities. As long as you are down, they get to feel essential, significant, and even superior. But when you stand in your full height, they feel diminished. Thus, they need you to be dependent, not sovereign, questioning, not confident. And there lies the sick reality. They are not in love with you. They are in love with the version of you that helps them feel better about their own lives. They cherish the broken you because that you doesn't demand more from them. They cherish the you who doubts their own value, who lives for their validation, who is perpetually in their emotional debt. But when you begin enforcing boundaries, putting yourself first, dreaming on a grander scale, and aligning with your purpose, their discomfort is impossible to conceal. They might mask their envy with sarcastic humor, ridiculing your goals, calling your development a phase, or dismissing your aspirations as a fantasy. They'll say things like, "Don't forget who you were," not as a gesture of love, but as a tactic to pull you back to a level they can manage. At their core, they don't want to see you succeed unless they maintain a position above you. And that is your sign you're contending with an entity, not merely a person. An entity that resents the light, thrives on self-doubt, and cheers for failure as long as it keeps you bound to them. You must observe how people react not just to your pain, but to your comeback. Anyone who feels a stronger connection to your wounds than to your wellness is a spiritual hazard. These forces won't always try to break you with fury. Sometimes, they'll attempt to break you with hollow comfort. But finding comfort in your broken state is not affection. It's a form of control. Quit mistaking their pity for allegiance. Focus on who champions your power, not just your sorrow. Because true love isn't threatened by your strength, it ignites it. They violate your boundaries again and again, not from a lack of understanding, but from a belief that your rules simply do not apply to them. These are the people who take your no as the beginning of a negotiation. You tell them you need solitude, and they invade it. You explain you're occupied, and they insist on your attention. You establish a limit, and they view it as a dare. This is not a failure to communicate. It is a spiritual violation. When someone chronically crosses the lines you have drawn to safeguard your sanity, your schedule, and your spirit, they are showing you a fundamental truth about themselves. They don't respect your sovereignty. They respect their ability to access you, and access without respect is just a form of plunder. These individuals function with a spirit of entitlement. They feel they have a right to your hours, your company, your focus, and your emotional energy. Even after you've made it clear your reserves are low, they camouflage their invasions as love or care, but it's really about domination. Your boundaries are a threat to anyone who needs power over you. They are unable to manipulate what is out of their grasp, so they push bit by bit, challenging your conviction, expecting you to collapse as you might have before. They use emotional blackmail to make you question your own right to protect your peace. They'll drop comments like, "You're so different now," or "You're being so cold," when the only thing that's changed is that you finally blocked them from draining you at will. And here is the thing about setting limits. They don't just preserve your tranquility. They expose everyone who never honored it to begin with. Anyone who responds to your personal rules with rage, subtle hostility, or an emotional cold shoulder is proving that their connection to you was built on their convenience, not on mutual reverence. When you attempt to claim your spiritual and emotional autonomy, they feel personally slighted because, to them, your accessibility is what defines your worth. But let this be cleared, you do not owe anyone unrestricted entry into your life, particularly not those who would trample your spirit to satisfy their own needs. This dark energy doesn't always show up with aggression. Sometimes it shows up with sheer persistence. It exhausts you, not with outbursts, but with a slow, constant erosion of your lines until you feel you have no strength left to say no. But your peace is your sanctuary. Your time is a treasure. Your presence is a gift, not a guarantee. Start treating your boundaries like the walls of your own fortress. Not everyone should be let inside, and those who try to force their way in aren't allies. They're trespassers. Defend your walls. They mirror you, then they betray you. This is a deliberate strategy disguised as praise, but born from a desire to tear you down. These are the people who observe your speech patterns, your routines, your look, your aura, every facet that makes you who you are, and they start to replicate it with such precision that you initially interpret it as a profound connection. They start to talk like you, use your expressions, dress in your style, and even claim your core beliefs and passions as their own. And you might be led to think, we are so much alike. But what is truly unfolding is far more menacing. They are absorbing your essence to wear it as their own, not to pay homage to you, but with the intent to embody you and ultimately to supplant you. It begins in small ways. They repeat your key phrases, present your ideas as their own, and share things that sound unsettlingly similar to your personal narrative. While you are still attempting to comprehend this act of plagiarism, they are already working against you in the shadows, whispering insidious doubts into the ears of others, tarnishing your reputation, your motives, and your integrity. They'll say things like, "I'm not so sure they are as authentic as they seem," or "They've really lost their way, they're not genuine," all in an effort to systematically poison the well with the very people who once championed you. And the most perverse aspect, they use the persona they've stolen from you as the gold standard, presenting themselves as the real deal while branding you a fake. This is far more than just betrayal. It is a theft of your identity with a spiritual motive. These are not merely insecure individuals seeking a role model. They are vessels for a force that covets your light because it possesses no internal source of its own. That energy imitates because it is incapable of original creation. It takes because it has no substance, and upon realizing it cannot naturally outmatch your radiance, it resolves to extinguish it through covert warfare. Soon, you notice people around you acting strangely, creating distance, and accepting fabrications about you that are far from the truth, and you're left to wonder why. The reason is that someone has weaponized your very being to attack your character. This is a psychological assault, dressed up as admiration. You are not dealing with just a troubled person, you are dealing with a parasitic entity that uses your own greatness to construct its image, only to turn that stolen luminescence against you. The sole path to victory is to stand unshakably in your own identity, remain anchored in what you know is true, and allow the forgery to expose itself with time. Because no imitation can withstand the enduring presence of authenticity. Guard your identity as if your life is on the line, because on a spiritual level, it is. They use guilt to keep you chained to them. Not affection, not reverence. Guilt, a spiritual prison built from emotional blackmail, crafted to keep you tethered to them long after the bond has expired. These people have no interest in whether the connection is balanced, supportive, or positive. Their only concern is that you remain within their reach so they can continue to draw from you, your schedule, your vitality, your devotion. And the moment they detect you are becoming aware, pulling away, establishing boundaries, or embarking on your healing, they don't offer an apology or make a change. They turn guilt into a weapon. They bring up everything they have ever done for you, remind you of their dependence on you, or paint a picture of how shattered they would be if you were to abandon them. They'll say things like, "You're really just going to walk out on me?" Or, "Is this how you repay me for everything?" These words are designed to strike you at your core, in your compassion. They turn your own kindness into a set of shackles, making you believe that leaving them is an act of cruelty, even when staying with them is an act of self-betrayal. And so you remain stuck, not out of love, but out of fear of being branded a bad person. But listen to me, guilt is never proof of love. It is a tactic of control wielded by those who gain from your submission and self-negation. A dark energy will never offer gratitude, but it will always ask, "How could you do this to me?" These forces hook into your sense of obligation and use it to bleed your spirit dry, piece by piece, until you are utterly depleted from the effort of carrying a burden that was never yours. They are not interested in healing. They are interested in access. They are not seeking a partnership. They are seeking possession. They are aware that as long as you feel guilty for wanting to leave, you will remain even if it is spiritually suffocating you. But real love does not use guilt trips. True love empowers, encourages, and sets you free. Guilt tethers you to individuals who refuse to evolve, who view your personal growth as a challenge to their dominance. It is not your duty to make yourself smaller to help them feel safe. It is not your duty to sacrifice your well-being to uphold a fabricated image of loyalty. You are not their rescuer, and they are not your burden to bear. Emotional manipulation is spiritual assault in disguise. The instant you see it for what it is, you are faced with a decision: stay confined in the prison they built from your own empathy, or break out and reclaim your soul. You owe no one perpetual access, especially not to those who only appear when they can make you feel too guilty to leave. Release the guilt and give yourself permission to grow. They ignite a profound, inexplicable anxiety within you. This doesn't come from their explicit words, but from what your spirit detects lurking beneath their facade. You can simply be in their vicinity, and your heart begins to pound. A knot forms in your stomach. Your mind becomes a storm of scattered thoughts, and you have no idea why, because nothing is overtly wrong. They might be smiling, even sharing a joke, appearing perfectly normal, but your intuition is sounding a silent alarm. This is not you being paranoid. This is your spiritual discernment at work. Your body is having a physical reaction to an invisible energy, a frequency that destabilizes your peace and puts your nervous system on high alert. This form of anxiety isn't born from a fight. It is born from being misaligned with an energy that is negative, deceitful, or draining. You might try to ignore it, criticize yourself for it, or write it off as overanalyzing. But your physical self is more ancient and wiser than your rational mind. It can tell when it's facing a spiritual threat, long before your logic has processed the evidence. These people often radiate a heavy, turbulent energy, even if it's veiled by charisma or familiarity. They might say all the things you want to hear, but their very aura hums with discord, envy, resentment, or a controlling nature. And you pick up on it even if you can't put a label on it. They can even make you question your own value without ever directly insulting you. You walk away from every exchange feeling a need to second, guess yourself, re-evaluate your decisions, or feeling as though your inner fire has been dampened. That's the signal they haven't just impacted your thoughts. They've disturbed your spirit. Anxiety is frequently the primary alert that you are in the presence of someone whose energy is toxic to yours. And if you consistently feel smaller, more muddled, and less centered when you're around them, that isn't a healthy bond. It's a spiritual red flag. These are the people who appear harmless on the surface, but they harbor unresolved inner conflicts that attach to them and are constantly looking for a way into your own spirit. When you experience this specific anxiety, do not brush it aside. Explore it. Who are you with? What changes within you when they talk? When they get close, when they just occupy your space? Your inner peace never deceives you, and neither does that inner tension. Sometimes, your anxiety is not just a symptom, it's a direct message. It's your spirit telling you, this is not a safe place for us. And when your spirit communicates, it is imperative that you listen, because safeguarding your peace is not an option, it's a core survival mechanism. Never feel sorry for distancing yourself from what your soul registers as harmful. Even when nothing on the surface seems out of place, the invisible realm is communicating more loudly than you realize. They find humor in your tears and sorrow in your success. This is because your anguish validates their sense of power, and your advancement makes them feel irrelevant. These are the individuals who claim to be close, who use titles like friend or family. But the reality is, they are only at ease when you are emotionally and mentally beneath them. When you are in pain, they seem amused, indifferent, or even pleased. They may not erupt in laughter, but you'll catch that flicker of contentment in their eyes, a hidden smile, a casual dismissal of your deep hurt, as if your state of brokenness confirms their own standing. They provide no genuine solace, only empty platitudes or biting jokes passed off as honest advice. But watch what happens when the situation reverses. When healing enters your life, when your inner light starts to shine again, when new opportunities come your way, instantly they become cold, quiet, or outright antagonistic. They'll start to retract their support, diminish your accomplishments, or find some way to re-center your success around themselves. You'll begin to hear comments like, "You've changed so much," or "Don't get ahead of yourself," or even worse, they'll attempt to paint your happiness as pride to make themselves feel justified. These are not simply envious people. They are spiritual opponents hiding in plain sight. Your rise highlights their own stagnation. Your brilliance makes their own shadows feel darker. The issue is not that you are achieving too much. It is that you are finally doing what they lack the courage or self-discipline to do for themselves. Deep down, their animosity is not for you. It's for what you now symbolize: a transformation, healing, and a potential that refuses to be contained. When you are crying, they do not offer a hand to lift you up. They watch you like an audience at a spectacle because your struggle is their form of entertainment. But when you get up, when you start to radiate, when you finally own your worth, they feel deserted by the version of you that once affirmed their superiority. That is not love. That is a spiritual cage. These people were never destined to accompany you on your journey of becoming. Their assignment was merely to see if you would remain stuck just to keep them feeling comfortable. And when you finally outgrow the persona that fed their ego, what they are mourning is not the loss of you, but the loss of their power over you. Be mindful of who applauds your wins and who quietly exits the room, Because genuine love does not mock your pain or lament your progress. It honors your recovery and stands proudly beside your greatness, not in its shadow. Let those who are allergic to your light remain in the darkness where they feel most at home. They despise truth, recoil from light, and hate anything sacred. Not always overtly with their words, but with their body language, their visible discomfort, their unspoken opposition that intensifies whenever true authenticity enters the space. These are the people who seem perfectly fine until you start speaking from a place of genuine conviction.